Really compliment Van Malone and the defensive coaching staff, that stayed here this week. I thought they, showed that they were true pros. I thought they worked remarkably hard to try to put a game plan together, with a lot of uncertainty about their future and, what was going on with them moving forward. So, those guys, I really take my hat off to them. I thought they handled a tough situation remarkably well. Bowl games are funny things. There's a lot of time between your last game and when you play the bowl game. And so what happens sometimes is, teams kind of hit momentum, and it's all about managing the team and getting those guys where they're hitting their momentum as they're playing in the game so they can play their very best. And obviously there's a lot of ups and downs with these kids for the last week. I think that it's pretty obvious that Coach Morris did a really good job with the players. Had a great relationship with them, and those guys, went through some tough times, and I think in their defense, I think it made it hard on them to get ready for this thing, and I'm just disappointed that they couldn't have a better experience because they earned. They earned this opportunity, and it was just unfortunate it worked out the way it did.
Coach, even though it was a tough situation, how valuable was it to get in and coach these guys right away and get these extra practices in?
Well, it was a big deal. I mean, like Ben said, I watched more than anything else. We didn't change anything defensively. We didn't really change anything on offense. I watched the way the players practiced. I got a sense for their buy-in in the program, and you try to evaluate everything from, what kind of condition are we in to what do we need to recruit, how do we have to get better. I think, physically we've got to continue to get bigger and stronger. I think when we walked out there today, Louisiana Tech was a bigger, stronger football team than we were. And so we've got some work to do in that regard. We've got to continue to develop our guys. We've got to, recruit bigger guys. But these players, like I said, I don't want to put too much into this because, they had a great year. They got bowl eligible. They've accomplished a lot. And certainly they didn't put their best foot forward tonight. None of us did. But that doesn't mean that they're, that we've got to start from scratch. Chad left a solid program that's certainly headed in the right direction and has a lot of momentum, and we've got to continue just to get better. And, we played a football team, like I said earlier, that has been through this before. They know how to prepare for a bowl game, and it showed. And, again, you got to give them credit. I take my hats off to them.
After Ben threw his third interception, he looked very dejected going to the sidelines, and you went over to talk to him. What was the message to him at that point?
I tried to be positive with everybody tonight the best I could. That was none of these players wanted this to happen, and so I tried to be as positive with them as I possibly could. And my message to Ben was just, keep playing, and don't be afraid to make a mistake. I got a sense that we tried a little bit too hard at times tonight. There was just a little bit of that, want something to happen so much that you're almost trying too hard, trying to do too much, not playing within yourself. And I think that's what, when you get off to a bad start like we did, first time in a bowl game in a long time, then you have a tendency to do that a little bit. So, there's a lot of things we got to get better at. And it was a good opportunity to evaluate where we are. Clearly we got to get a lot better, but it's a great group of young men to work with. I'm excited about being here at SMU. I think we have a very, very bright future. And this game I hope was just one of those things that happens sometimes.
With this result in mind, looking back over the last 8 days, was there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Oh, I can barely remember what happened the last 8 days between, taking the job and trying to go recruiting and signing recruits today, earlier in the day before a bowl game. It's just been such a whirlwind. I think obviously there's a lot of things I could have done better, but we'll sit back and try to reflect on those and make sense of the whole situation. In a lot of ways this is a little unprecedented. I don't know how many times this has happened in college football. But, my goal from the very beginning was to try to give these young men the best experience I could give them. They had a great year. They deserved, the very best I could possibly provide for them and the very best that SMU could give them. And that's what I tried to do. And, again, it's disappointing that the result wasn't what we wanted. But, I love those kids in that room. I love them for the way they've handled adversity. And this will be another lesson. And we'll look back on this experience someday and say, you know what, that helped us grow as a program.
Coach, how much would you attribute your offensive struggles to the field position early in the first half?
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's like Ben said. I mean, when we first play of the game, we fumble, and then again, I thought our defense came in, held them to a field goal attempt, and they missed the field goal attempt. We never could get anything going. We didn't do a very good job running the ball. They gave us a box where we should have been able to run the ball. It was mostly a 5- and 6-man box. And, we didn't win the battles up front. Really didn't execute it all in the passing game, so to speak. But, I think field position early in the ball game, was a big deal, was important. And certainly, if you looked at where they were getting the ball and where we were getting the ball, it certainly hurt us. We gave up the long kickoff return, put our defense back against the wall. I just didn't think we really played well in any phase of the game. Like I said, I thought our defense played really hard, and I thought their effort was outstanding. And so I thought some individuals played well, but collectively I didn't think we played particularly good.
You mentioned signing day earlier, and between the whirlwind of an 8 days, fair to say the most unique coaching experience and individual game you've ever had in your career?
Yeah, for sure. It was hard because, there just wasn't, the recruiting people were gone. I mean, it was just everybody was gone. And so, it was, we had to kind of start from scratch in some ways. We had the kids that were committed, but all of a sudden we had to build a relationship with them, as many of them as we could, to try to salvage the recruiting class, today, the guys that signed early. So, obviously guys were working the phones. The new coaches that I've hired, the 3 guys that I've hired up to this point, we're working the phones as well. Those guys were focusing primarily on recruiting. That's what we decided to do is roll with the staff that we had in place on offense and defense. And then, the 3 new coaches really focused on getting these guys signed and recruiting. I thought we made some huge inroads. I thought that we addressed some needs in this recruiting class. And I thought, like I said, we did a lot in a very short amount of time that I was really pleased with. But, yeah, I mean, it was a very unique experience, certainly an experience I don't want to go through again. But at the end of the day, like I said earlier, I mean, these young men made it, the outcome wasn't what we wanted, but I couldn't be more proud of the way they handled this tough situation.
One more question.
Coach, don't know if you're able to get into it, want to get into it, but can you touch on the recruiting class and some of the guys you signed today?
Yeah. I thought, we needed to, as we watched practice, I felt like we needed to address, some of the size issues. I felt like we needed to get bigger up front. So, we went out and signed 2 junior college offensive linemen. A tackle and a guard. I felt like it was important to get both of those positions. Like the guys a lot that we signed. They're big, they're strong, they're athletic. Expect them to come in and compete, for an opportunity to play. One thing about our program is, we're going to have guys that are going to have to compete hard for spots. We're going to open it back up for competition and roll the ball out and say, okay, look, we're going to start over from scratch. And I told them after the game, we've got a lot of work to do. We got to get better. Go home, enjoy your Christmas holidays, and then come back and get ready to go to work. So it's going to be a busy time for me too, assembling a staff, assembling a support staff, all the different things you have to do. I'll start on that bright and early tomorrow morning and keep grinding and get that done. But thought the recruiting class went well. Obviously the quarterback we signed was committed prior. He's an athletic guy. He can run around. He can make plays. Signed a running back that's a big physical runner. I was pleased with the guys we got. Got a corner that's athletic and can make plays as well. So when you look at that total group of guys that we signed today, I was proud of that group, and I thought our commits have held with us pretty well up to this point, and we'll look forward to signing probably 13 more first week in February. Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it.